What is up, guys? Bobby Kicks back in the mix for Kickstory Podcast. Welcome back to another episode.
What's going on, everyone? Goatee in the place to be. And Bobby Kicks, we doing a little crossover right now. We in a different vibe.
Yes.
We not in the studio. We virtual, Bobby Kicks.
That's right. I'm excited for this. Now we're in a different space. Very, very cool space because we're doing something a little bit new. We got a special guest on my right side here.
Right side, left side, best side. We crossing over. Listen, this is an exciting episode. This man right here, he has to get an introduction, Bobby Kicks. I can't just introduce. We got to break down to the best of our capabilities, Bobby Kicks. Best of our capabilities. So hold on 1 second. I need to read just bullet points of this man, our special guest, and salute to you again. Thank you for joining us on Kickstory Podcast. Yes, sir. This person, co-host of the legendary Stretch and Bobbito show on WKCR, which in 2023 was inducted into the NAB Radio Hall of Fame.
You're right.
Come on now. Influential DJ producer who helped shape 1990 New York City in the 90s, helping launch careers of Nas, Big Pun, Jay-Z, Eminem, Biggie, Wu-Tang, Fugees. Let's go on and on. He's a pioneer of sneaker culture journalism, co-author of Where You Get Those, author of Aim High, Little Giant, Aim High, and author of his latest book, Bobbito's Book of B-Ball, Bong Bong, a memoir, sports style, and soul. Okay, I'm not done, Bobby Kicks. I'm not done. He's the first. Yes, sir. He's the first sneaker columnist in major magazine, influencing modern sneaker journalism. He's a New York City, and Bobby Kicks, you know I say New York every single episode. He's an NYC street legend, trainer, designer, known as Kool Bob Love. He produces international b-boy tournament called Full Court 21. Still not done. He's the writer for Vibe, The Source, and Slam, covering sneaker hip-hop culture. He's a host, voice actor for various ESPN and MSG shows, the main voice for the NBA Street video game series, NBA 2K9, NBA The Run, and the VR game Blacktop Hoops VR. He's a director filmmaker. Okay. He's a founding member of the Kennedy Center's Hip Hop Council. He's a podcaster. Okay. He's a sneaker collaborated with major brands such as Nike, Adidas, Pumas, Croquettes. He's a cultural ambassador, educator, entrepreneur, bridging basketball, hip hop, sneakers, and New York City street culture. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bobbito Garcia, aka Kool Bob Love.
Oh, yo, you did your homework, Goatee. You did the extra. You got an A plus extra. I'm about to give you
Credit.
The whole week off from class, bro. You did well, bro.
So, man, I'm happy. You are New York City. Every episode I say New York because, you know, when you're from New York, you got to say New York. And it's just an honor for you to be here, brother.
Nah, listen, y'all hit me up after the Complex Kicks article came out and, got a lot of attention. And I appreciate I'm going to turn 60 in 2026, right? So I've been around this for a long time, blessed to be alive, healthy, still around, have a voice, have clarity to share stories.
Right.
And, I can't accept every single invitation to podcast, but sometimes just things feel right. And, when y'all reached out to me, you reached out to me separately, I think, both via DM. And I was like, I need to get coordinated because I already said yes.
Bobbito, and talk about energy. I hit you up on my own. Then Bobby Kicks hit you up on your own. We didn't even know we was hitting up each other. Yeah. So then Bobby Kicks was like, wait a minute. I was like, man, that stars aligning right there.
Yeah. But I get so many DMs. I didn't even, one of you were like, yo, we want you on the podcast. And I was like, I already said yes. And you know what I'm saying? But I was like, talk to your mans and figure it out. Cause
Word.
I wasn't about to go through all my DMs and be like, oh, wait, which one was it? But now it's a blessing to be here, man. Congratulations on two seasons, 2 years, and much more success. I see that you have Brendan on and you've had other special guests, and hopefully you continue to grow and evolve,
That means a lot, man. Thank you for that. That's awesome, man. I mean, you've made a huge impact in the sneaker game. Obviously the anniversary came along with your documentary and I made a video about that too. It was really, really cool, just to kind of bring back those memories, and the impact you're currently taking and the things that you've done and really cement everything in for us, man. That really put the foundation for us. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But Bobbito, I always look at you. You always got something going on, brother. You, you never stay still. You're
I
always
don't.
evolving.
Yeah,
Always evolving. Right.
trying to.
And yeah, man, and we admire that. So why don't you just start off, just telling people what's going on right now? You got a new book, got a clothing line, like tell the people what's going on with Bobbito Garcia, aka Kool by Bluff.
Yeah, so the current projects are very dear to me, right? So I started my tournament FC21 1v5 in 2013. This past summer we did 30 international locations. All the qualifiers come to New York for the All World Final at the end of August at the GOAT, aka Rocksteady Park, which is legendary in both hip hop and basketball. It's where I grew up. It's where the early chapters of my memoir, Bobbito's Book of Bebo Bong Bong, take place. It's where I hosted the very first Rocksteady crew anniversaries back in the 90s.
I remember that.
So I got a lot of history with that park. I grew up right across the street, lived there for 25 years. That park birthed the careers of Mario Ellie, who won 3 NBA championships.
Nice.
I birthed the career of Curious, who, is still out there rhyming, crushing it, but he had an album on Columbia Records many, many decades ago. And the Rocksteady crew, that was their headquarters. So, that there's that, right? There's the FC21, and that takes up a lot of time in the spring and summer. Doing it in some new cities this upcoming year. We're going to expand to Mexico for the first time. I see you got the Mexico cap on.
Yes,
And we're going to do a qualifier out there. We're going to bring it back to Puerto Rico for the first time since 2019. We have a stronghold over the existing cities that we've done. So that's right there is like such joy for me, to have like over 2,000 participants in all these countries, and and just to direct it all and provide an opportunity for people to play basketball and connect, on a global level. It's really special to me. I also got my clothing brand, as you mentioned. This is a signature line. It features my illustrations, my hand lettering. It's just something that it's just one day I was just like, yo, this would be kind of cool. I partnered with Shirts and Skins, who has 30 years plus in the game in terms of we have our manufacturer in the Philippines, and it's just a nice opportunity to express myself in another way. I did have the memoir released, Bobbito's Book of Bebo Bong Bong, in July of 2025. And that's going well. Still got people reading it, people learning about it. It's on an independent press called Edusports/Akashic. So it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and I'm appreciative anytime anybody gives a shine. And then I got, as you mentioned, the video game NBA The Run, which will be released in 2026. I'm the voice. I'll also be, I also have been consulting the developers on the just sort of making sure the authenticity and the creativity is on point when it comes to the culture, the actual culture, not the culture of video games, because I'm not a gamer and I don't play, but I'm just saying I'm embedded in, the asphalt worldwide. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. And, I got other projects too. I'm constantly creating content on my social media, and I've been having a lot of fun with that, opening up to sort of new areas of expression there, and getting really good reception and feedback and comments and following. I'm constantly hitting over 500,000 views every month now, and it's wow to me, because I was on Hot 97, I was on ESPN, WKCR with Stretch, and we didn't have always metrics available. So for me to go on Instagram and look at my insights and be like, wow, I just reached 1 million people in the last 3 months. It's whoa, and I know that's going to continue to grow. And there's a lot of new people that are learning about more of the complex kicks. Post came out, I got I think 1,500 new followers within a week. So, it's there's still people that have no idea who I am. They know about stuff that in my universe, but they may not relate it to me. Or they don't.
Right.
They might know of me as an NBA Street Volume 2 voice, but they don't know that I did a radio show for 12 years, or they don't know that, I play professional basketball in Puerto Rico, or they don't know that I'm a former trainer for the NBPA, the National Basketball Players Association. There's a lot of stuff that I've done in my life, as you mentioned, Goatee, in the intro. So, it's a matter of constantly trying to teach people how to connect all these different, sort of satellite things that I've done, because they all come from here, right? Look, you got the heart right here. It's like, b-ball plus love equals joy. That's sort of like my ethos at this point, and that's represented on the first collection of my clothing.
Yes,
so, that's what I'm up to nowadays. A lot of people always want to talk to me about, the radio show in the 90s, and that gets a little tiring. Because I did a documentary about it, Stretch of Bobbito Radio That Changed Lives, that got released in 2015, got picked up by Showtime and Netflix. So, hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions of people saw that documentary. So that's on the radar. But I've done a lot, and I'm very proud of my output. And again, like, I'm appreciative for people like yourselves, to give me voice and, shed light to my offerings to your audience who might be younger, or might just be getting into it. They might be older, but might just be getting into it and be like, oh, wow, he did this, he did this, so, yeah.
One thing I want to acknowledge right away is, first of all, congratulations on all the success, man. Like, your brand is so strong and so versatile that it gets me excited, because you have a strong love for, for basketball all these years. I still play as much as I can, my knees are not the same, but I try to play as much as I can all the time. So hearing you being still so active in the basketball game and in the community and bringing back that together is just super awesome and inspiring, man. So I'm definitely want to take a lot of notes from what you're doing, because you're very inspiring on how you took your brand to the next level. You didn't stay in one lane. You went all over the place, which is awesome, man. So salute to you.
That's hard to do, man. It's hard to do with grit,
right.
And you could look at each aspect of, whether it was my sneaker show on ESPN or the collabs that I did with Nike, Puma, K1X, Adidas, Pro-Keds, Piola. In each instance, I'm always on some I'm not going to compromise my creativity. I'm not going to compromise the culture. I'm not going to compromise myself. So in every single thing you could look at, I'm almost 60, right? So you could look at 40 years of what I've been doing in my career, right? And you're not going to see one thing that he played himself, he sold out. You're going to see some failures, I mean, maybe not I shouldn't say failures, but there's things that I've done, like, for example, the world's first curated sneaker boutique, right? Opened in 1996, called Footwork. 4 years later, it was closed. Now, I don't look at that as a failure, because I helped inspire Jeff Staple open up Reach Space. I helped inspire Stash open up Nort 295. I helped inspire a whole generation of entrepreneurs who came after me, who wanted to be like, I want to have a retail shop and feature sneakers amongst other things that I love and feel passionate about. So yeah, the store, had it opened in 2000 or 2001, it might have flourished and still be open today, with multiple locations around the world, but it didn't. It was ahead of its time, But even with that, it's I stayed credible, and I feel really proud about that. And Bobby Kicks, what I can impart to you is that, basketball for me is evergreen, it's everlasting. I'm still trying to be the best ball player I can.
Yes.
I still be out in my backyard or at the court, doing drills and trying to, think of new moves and making sure that my form is right, and working on my left hand because my right shoulder's injured. So I've been working on my left hand jump shot. And, it's I don't know too many people in my age group that are still trying to become the best player they possibly can. They're still playing recreation. because they,
Yes.
they enjoy the game or they like the camaraderie, but like, I'm still trying to become better. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
and I talked about that a lot in my memoir, Bobbito's Book of Bebo Bong Bong. Just because that's just, pouring from the heart, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Bob. What you gonna say?
I'll just say I love that. I just love hearing that because, like I said, as I'm getting older, in my 40s already, I've noticed my body's not the same, but I try to keep pushing it as much as I can, until the wheels fall off has been my motto. So it's like, we're the best. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And Bobito, like, and I said a word earlier, evolution. And I love how you have evolved. I mean, remember, I was listening to you and Stretch in the 90s, right? And I'm in like junior high school. And for you to just see, it looks seamlessly transition into this new wave of media, right? And you said something about how just staying authentic. You as New York as you can get. You as New York as you can get. You always submit yourself around the culture of New York. In New York City is basketball. If you're from New York, some way, somehow you picked up a ball one day in your life, right?
No doubt,
We got baseball, we got football, but we play ball, right?
No doubt.
And
We
then
got
you got
skaters as well. The skate community is incredible, but even a lot of
Right.
skaters play ball, or they skate at the basketball courts,
Exactly. So I like to say basketball is almost it's our safe haven, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're from different boroughs. I mean, I'm growing up in Brooklyn in Bed-Stuy in the 80s. I played NYCHA, New York City housing, right? We used to go to different hoods, different projects.
Yeah.
And through basketball, I found safety because, all the thugs play ball. Everybody play ball, right? Or enjoy ball on the court. But that also brings me back to sneaker culture in New York City, because that's what I was ingrained with as well. And that was a big emphasis on why Bobby and I created this podcast. Just our love from sneakers, my point of view from New York City, Bobby's point of view from the West Coast.
Yeah.
So when it comes to sneakers, right, in the root, because it's connected to basketball, it's connected to hip hop, and it's well documented, your love for sneakers. But just for our audience, just talk about your passion for sneakers, that first love, when it started for you, right? And then just kind of take it from there and your love. And obviously you had collaborations, but talk about your first love for sneakers.
Yeah. So that's well documented in my first title, Where'd You Get Those? New York City Sneaker Culture, 1960 to 1987. Amazingly, it was published 22 years ago. It's kind of bugged out how time has flown.
Yeah.
Did a 20th anniversary edition in 2024. Which was supposed to be released in 2023, but we missed it. And I did a 10th anniversary edition. Each just has its own different cover, and I'm just happy that it's still in print for, like I said, like you might have an audience that's younger or might be older, but just getting into the culture. So, it was a offering for people to learn about the dark ages, is what I call. 1960 to 1987 is the least documented era of the sneaker movement. After 87, Jordan pops off and everybody kind of like, there's attention and there's knowledge and there's a younger lane for people to get in. The NBA has become more popular, but like 60 to 87, like the NBA is not huge. Playground basketball is ginormous. Right. And that's what funnels that sort of energy into how we interpret, the idiosyncrasies and behavior patterns of sneakerheads, and even basketball culture informs hip hop heads on how to take their cues from the ball players on what to wear, how to wear it, etc. Let me give you some examples. Like in my book, Where'd You Get Those? New York City Sneaker Culture, 1960, 1987. Some of the most iconic models that I write about are the Nike Air Force One, which for decades has been the highest selling silhouette for the brand, right? The Adidas Shell Toes, which were popularized globally by Run DMC. The Puma Clydes, which, both the B-boys and B-girls of Rocksteady and New York City Breakers brought to global fame. Then MC Shan and LL Cool J brought to global fame. All those sneakers, caught their steam on the asphalt first because they were performance basketball sneakers, and that's where I come from. I'm a ball player first and foremost before I'm a hip hop head, before I become a public figure, before I become a designer, before I become an entrepreneur in the sneaker space, before I become the inventor of sneaker journalism in 1990, with my source article, Confessions of a Sneaker Addict. Before all that, I'm just a ball player, growing up in New York, as you mentioned, goatee, loving just the competition, the creativity, the showboating, the crowd pleasing, the shit talking. I'm loving all that, right? And how do I become the best ball player that I possibly can be? It's by wearing functional performance gear. So that was my interest way before, I had a thought of being fresh, and so it's different. It's a different entry point. And because I always was a ball player, that was always my my most important factor, was that I want a pair of sneakers that's going to be comfortable on my feet, and then as I started DJing, traveling the world, I'm standing for 5 hours doing a set. I need some sneakers that's going to be comfortable on my feet. So I always had performance in mind, never was the dude to be like, oh, I'm just going to wear these because everybody's talking about them, but they're killing my feet. Nah, that's
right.
So, the thing about that was, when we're talking about authenticity, is that brands knew that I was emulating, I was evoking this sort of approach towards not just performance, but also style, right? And so they wanted to capture that, and they wanted to use my positioning in the community for their benefit. And that's why, K1X came first. They were a new brand out of Germany, Munich to be exact, I think. And, they were trying to get their foothold in New York. And so they brought me on board to do a collab. At the time, I was the editor-in-chief and co-founder of a magazine called Bounce. So, I just put the Bounce logo on. I didn't even put my name on it. I just put the Bounce logo on it. Right. And, I did the colors, picked out the fabrics. They had the model was a Chief Glider. And that was my first collab, and I was proud of it, did well. It was a smaller brand, but, it's like you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. I remember, real quick, Bob, I remember seeing that in Slam magazines, man. I remember seeing those K1.
Let me give you a little backstory. Chris Stone was the advertising director at Slam magazine, and he was the liaison to K1X. So he was the one who brought me on board to Christian and all those dudes, running the brand, Niels. He was the one that brokered that, because he was like, yo, Bob is hip hop, Bob is sneakers, and Bob is basketball. He's like, he's every touch point that your brand needs, and he's New York, and he's considered like a kingpin out here. So, that's sort of, I remember my boy Jerry Erasmi at Nike, who ran marketing for New York and then eventually China and Brazil and, global. He once told me, he was like, yo, Bob, like you force everybody's hand. I was like, what do you mean by that? He was like, we can't avoid you. For us to be authentic, we have to have you involved. Like, it's just, that's just what it is. Cause we, it was like, it was like, how many people were actually ball players? Actually, like, I was already a hip hop legend by the 90s, right? Like, I didn't say that. I'm saying, like, in 1998, the Source magazine voted me and Stretch best hip hop radio show of all time. That made me legendary in the hip hop space. I wasn't a legendary ball player, but I was a legit ball player who was playing in legendary tournaments against legendary players and, getting respect. And people thought, like maybe sometimes I would have a little highlight or whatever, so I was a crowd pleaser, what I'm saying? I wasn't a dude that was going to drop 30 on an NBA player. Never. That wasn't me, I was a cat who could play organized ball, who could also do a little trick pass, whatever, get the crowd hyped. So I had that. I had the authenticity in basketball. And then when it came to sneakers, like, I knew my I wrote the article in the source for called Confessions of a Sneaker Addict. That was the first piece of journalism in media history
Ever.
And I wrote that because
I remember that.
I knew what I was talking about. And then I wrote my book, Where'd You Get Those New York City Sneaker Culture, 1960, 1987, and 2000. I started in 2000. And then it came out in 2003. It took like 4 years to write. So, it's like for a brand to bring me on board, it was like you were getting like a triple threat, So Adidas came next. In 2005, they did they were doing the 35th anniversary of the Superstar model. So they had me do a collab, and I didn't put my name on that one either. I was part of a basketball performance group. We were doing halftime shows for NBA arenas, NCAA. We did University of Tennessee. We did UConn. We did the Knicks, the Hornets. I mean, you name it. Like we were just, we was out there, Mavericks, playoff games. We was doing overseas gigs. And so I put the Project Playground logo on that one. And then it was kind of like I was foreseeing the future, because then what happened was Nike came along, right? And in 2007, I did the Air Force One 25th anniversary. And I did 7 silhouettes that I curated. And that's the first one that has my name on it. Now, I don't put Bobbito on it. I put Kool Bob Love.
Kool Bob
and
Love.
so on the back,
can I say something
love,
about that?
Huh?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and in the back it has love with my hand on a basketball, on the basketball inspired colors. And then there's a hand over a record for the more like hip hop inspired ones. Nice. But yeah, that release made a lot of noise, and
Crazy.
I remember going into multiple stores. Huff, may he rest in peace. In San Fran, he had a shop. I walked in there one day. I see all my sneakers on the wall. They're like, "Yo, your joints are selling better than any of the NBA collaborative, including the original, Michael Thompson, Bobby Jones. They had a Kobe Bryant Air Force One that year. Like,
wow.
It was like, your joints is flying. And that bugged me out, because I'm not an NBA athlete.
Right.
Never had that potential. It was never NBA potential, never NBA material. I was never a platinum recording artist. Rockefeller had their collabs. Slim Shady had his collab. Wu-Tang had their collab with the Dunks. That wasn't me, So here I am, this dude who's just hot in the streets, I guess. And, putting forth a lot of energy to basketball, hip hop, music, and sneaker culture, who winds up doing, I don't know anybody prior who curated 7 silhouettes in one collection. In that point, maybe since, but prior to that, De La had the De La Dunk. Yeah, Slim Shady had the one off. It was like Fat Joe had the Terror Squad, one off. Like, so when he let me do 7 shoes, I was like, and I told them, I was like, this is overdue. It shouldn't have been K1X and Adidas who I did the collabs with first. No knock on those brands, but I had been working with Nike since 1993, and they had been talking about me about doing a collab since like 96, 97.
Wow.
So it was like long overdue, long overdue and deserved, and to this day, I look at it as it was a mutually beneficial relationship, They never told me how many pairs they did. I imagine they probably sold about 3,000, 4,000 of each. So, if we go on the high end, 4,000, 7 shoes, that's 21,000 shoes. Do the math. They sold for 150, 125. Mm-hmm. That's not what they get, because they wasn't doing direct to customer back then. So they were doing the wholesale. So, 21,000, if you do it 21,000 times 100, what is that?
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
A lot
right? And what's great about what you did is that it's outside, like what you said, outside of the signature line, like what normally basketball players do. You were doing something very, very special and unique in your own lane. And they got a lot of attention. It brought in a lot more attention on the collab space. And it really set the stage for the hip hop culture to really be cemented in the kicks game, in my opinion. So, I mean, did you see it that way as well?
Nah, I mean, because Stash had already done collabs. Like I said, De La had already done collabs. Like, I wasn't the first. I was the first for a lot of other things. I was the first host for a television show about the culture called It's the Shoes on ESPN. There's no precedent. I was the first sneaker journalist, period. There's no precedent. My book, Where'd You Get Those? There were other books on sneakers that came out just before mine, but they weren't about the culture. They were more about the industry,
right,
or more about collecting. I didn't write about collecting. I wrote about the culture, how we approached, how we, customized our shoes, how we wore our shoes, what shoes mattered for basketball, what shoes mattered off the court. There was nothing like my book out there like it. So, I think those touch points were foundational for what has become of the sneaker world since. My collab with Nike, though, I think just raised the bar of what was already existed. It raised the bar high.
Yeah.
Because of what interest, like I did 7, it was like the mac and cheese went ape nuts. The beef and broccolis went ape shit. I was seeing those being sold on eBay for years afterwards. StockX, you can still probably see my joints available. I've seen them for like $650, $700. Not that I don't see any money off of the resale. But going back to my point about being mutually beneficial, like people are like, oh my God, like you're so lucky, like for Nike to put you on board like that. And I say it to this day, Nike was lucky too. We both benefited. I gave them the authenticity and credibility that brand deserved at that point. And that they still need, all these years later. Brands constantly need authentic, credible collaborations. And that's why they it didn't stop there. It's not like the collab craze came and went and bubbled. No, it's still happening today. Like, they have to collab with like content creators or personalities or collectors or athletes or musicians or MC, whoever it is, because it makes sense. It makes sense.
And you bring up a point about the sneaker game culture. Like you said, you really brought a brand like Nike to give it that culture that they were missing. And I'm curious to know, like, where do you see the culture right now? Are you seeing it still the same? Is it diluted? Is it going up? How do you see it right now?
I don't. You're better off telling me, because I only own like 5 pairs of sneakers.
Okay.
Literally, I let go all my one of ones, all my samples that I designed, all the Air Force One lasers. I got the laser in 2003. Just as like, the designer Mark had developed the technology for it. Like I was like one of the first 3 people to receive lasers, and I let everything go. I let everything go. Like my mind is just not there in this day and age.
Got it.
To be spending a lot of energy figuring out what pair of sneakers I'm going to wear every single day, and for what outfit or whatever. Like,
you're a busy guy. You have a lot going on, so yeah.
But ultimately, again, it just boils down to, as I wrote in my memoir, like the most important thing to me has always been, I'm a ball player, right? So in 2025 and in 2026, whenever, people are going to catch this podcast, I just really care about all my feet comfortable on the asphalt. When I'm doing my cuts and when I'm doing my jump shots and when I'm doing my dribbling drills, like what's comfortable on my feet. And so I'm still wearing the 2019 Converse Pro BB.
Okay.
And then EQLZ. My brother Aaron Cooper, who used to work at Nike.
Shout out Kool.
Yeah, Kool. Good dude. He moved, he's working with EQLZ, and he blessed me with a pair. We were talking about doing a collab at one point, didn't work out, but I got love for him regardless. And so I have those 2 for my performance. And then I got a pair of Chuck Taylors, that I just did a listening session / book signing for my memoir in Nyack recently, and I wore my Chucks.
Nice.
Yep.
So that's just my question, as far as like what you have on feet right now and what you're wearing on court, because I'm always a performance guy. I want to know what you're wearing on court. EQLZ, Love those shoes. I'm glad that you have a pair because Aaron Cooper's an awesome guy, brilliant designer.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brett Goliff as well. He did the 360, the EQL 360. We talked to him. We had an interview with him, but great brand. Love to hear that, man. Love that.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to who they brought on board too, like, Jay Lou. He's a social media sensation, but that kid got a nice handle. He played in my tournament, FC21. We
Awesome.
brought it to Atlanta again this past summer, and he was out there, to show love and support. And I never met him personally, but I appreciate that he was present, because he's from he lives in Atlanta these days. So I always root for the little guy,
Yeah.
and I hope that EQLZ does well, and
Yes.
and if I didn't know, if Aaron wasn't there, I don't know if I would feel the same way, because it's always like about relationships,
Okay.
but I got love for him. When I was doing consulting for Nike in the 90s, I was flown out to Beaverton, and that's the first time I met Aaron, and he showed me a bunch of sneakers that he was working on, and I gave him some feedback, and then he would come to New York with a bag, with a big duffel bag. Yo, Bob, he came to the hood one time. He came uptown. I had a tournament at Ray Diaz Brown Ball Classic, and he showed up to the park and was like, "Yo, Bob, I got a bag. I want to show you some stuff." Yeah. So I give props to Aaron. He's cool dude, man.
Yeah,
Works hard. Yeah, works hard, real positive.
I want to stay on Uptowns real quick. I want to stay on Air Force Ones real quick. When you're, that's a staple in New York City culture, Air Force Ones, but Uptowns, right? When you made them in 2007, there was a lot of competition, right? And yours stood out. They're considered relics now. Your Kool Bob Love series Uptowns are relics. Like you can rarely find them. They got some on eBay, but in dead stock condition, they were very, very limited. We did an episode on Air Force One Uptowns, right?
Yeah.
And it got reignited in inner cities in Baltimore, New York, and Philly, right? But really Baltimore, there were 3 stores in Baltimore that really, really brought them back. So, but I never really found out the New York City version in 1986 of Air Force Ones. And I always wanted to ask you this question. What was Air Force Ones to you? How did it come back to the asphalt, or did it ever leave? It came out in 82, but did it ever leave New York City playgrounds, Air Force Ones? Because it came out in 82, then it kind of like stores stopped selling them, and then it came back reinvigorated and stuff in Baltimore in 86. So what happened in New York City in 1986 with Air Force Ones?
I'm going to give you 2 jewels. You can buy my book, Where'd You Get Those? New York City Sneaker Culture 1960, 1987. Right. And I detail exactly what happened with the Air Force One.
Perfect.
But also I'm a featured interviewee in a little known film called Air Force One, Anatomy of an Urban Legend. Awesome. Which I think got posted to YouTube eventually. But at first the film got shelved. Portions of excerpts of it were shown at some of the Air Force One 25th anniversary celebrations that I attended. It was directed by Thibaut de Longueville, who you might recognize. He was the filmmaker behind Just for Kicks, which got released in 2005. So after Thibaut did Just for Kicks, and that made all the noise at Tribeca Film Festival, and et cetera, Nike tapped him to do another joint more specific to the Air Force One. And, all the people you would think that are in it, Udi from Training Camp, Clark Kent, myself. Yeah.
Wow.
We all in there talking about the Air Force One and the history of it. And it's really well done. It's an exceptional film. I don't think, my guess is that a lot of people don't know about it, but I feel like it's up online somewhere. It's just under the radar. So I would encourage all your listeners to first read my book, because I go in on it, and then to watch that film for even
where can people find your book?
It's online. It's online. It's at your finer bookshops, brick and mortar ones, mom and pops. I always recommend people to go to their local bookstore. If they don't see it stocked, they can ask for it. I also have my own online bookstore, and just go to Kool Bob Love, KoolBoblove.com. You can link to everything. You can find my books, you can find my clothing brand, you can find the music that I've produced, the music I've appeared on, the films I've directed. Everything is at KoolBoblove.com. Or
Right.
if you're a social media cat, the link in my bio has links to everything, everything. My memoir, my sneaker book, my clothing brand. I do, personalized video shout outs for people,
Nice.
for their birthday or their graduation. Like everything is in my bio. My link in my bio is just click
sir.
and then boop. You
Yeah,
good.
something
So,
for every-
Kool Bob, just think Kool Bob Love with a K. And
Yes, sir.
and that'll get you on your way.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Bobbito, thank you so much for your time, dude. You have so much to give to this world. I love what you're doing for the community, for the sneaker, heads out there. Just you're a true historian all around. So I love that, man. Go to you. Anything you want to add?
Nah, this is special. This one, as I mentioned earlier, this is the honor for us, man. I've been following you since I was yay high. So, salute to you. Thank you for what you've done for New York City, what you continuously do. Thank you for your evolution. We continue to follow you. And for our new listeners, if you don't know who this guy is, make sure you check out his website and really, really take a deep dive into everything that he's done and doing right now.
And real quick, I did want to ask you. So your handle is the same all across different accounts on
All
social
across Twitch, Facebook,
Kool Bob
Threads, Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Patreon, you name it. It's KoolBoblove. Same, even on Tumblr, just Kool Bob Love. Kool
Yes, sir.
with a K.
Consistent.
Bob Love. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes, sir.
Honestly, once again, thank you guys for joining us on the special edition of Kickstory Podcast, doing this virtually here, all the way from New York over here on my right side. And we got Go Team back right there on the bottom there. So great episode. Thank you for spending some time with us. Anything, Go Team?
Nah, Bob, good looking again. Appreciate the time and the jewels that in your journey, your Kickstory. Also, just showcasing there's still people out there that love basketball, love playing on the courts, and you're a true inspiration to all of us who love ball. And you make me want to go outside and just put on the tank top. It's nice weather out here in Arizona,
Yes.
and just do a couple of free throw shots, man. So salute to you, brother.
All right,
And
guys,
guys,
cool. Peace.
Yes. And guys, before you tune out real quick, make sure to subscribe to us, kickstorypodcast.com. Go there. You can find all the links to support us as well.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for tuning in. Bobbito, once again, have a blessed day. Enjoy yourself. We're looking forward to see what you do in the next this next year and moving forward. So thank you very much.
All right.
Bye, brother.
Thank you for watching this episode of Kickstory. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes. And stay connected with us on Instagram and these podcast platforms listed here. We also want to hear from you. So make sure to comment below and give us your thoughts. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you next time.